My name is Evie, I'm 13, and I used to think adults always told the truth, especially the ones who said they were there to help. That ended the day my sketchbook disappeared, and the counselor told everyone I made it up. He looked at me with that fake smile and said, "Evie, we don't spread lies here, okay?" While the real thief hid behind him, pretending to cry. In that moment, I realized the worst feeling in the world isn't being ignored, it's being disbelieved, so I stopped defending myself. I just watched. And I started drawing something new. You'll see what it was soon enough. What would you do if your truth didn't matter? Tell me in the comments. Let's begin. The camp bus smelled like sunscreen, potato chips, and nervous excitement. My sketchbook sat on my lap, edges curled from too many pages pressed too tight. I held it like it could keep me from falling apart. Outside the window, the lake flashed silver between trees, and for a second, I let myself believe this summer might actually fix something. Maybe here, I could be the version of myself that didn't have to choose between mom's silence and dad's apologies. When the bus stopped, the counselors were already waving. The air was sharp with pine and possibility. I wanted to draw everything, the dock, the crooked cabins, the sunlight breaking through branches like tiny promises. "Evie, right?" a counselor said. He had a whistle around his neck and an easy smile. "You're a little artist, huh?" I nodded, even though something about the way he said "are" made my stomach twist. By the first evening, I'd filled half a page with quick sketches, faces, laughter, the way the lake looked just before the sun dipped. My cabin mates leaned over my shoulder, giggling. "You made me look like I'm actually cool," one said, and for the first time in months, I laughed without checking if anyone was watching. At campfire, we roasted marshmallows. Sparks floated up like tiny ghosts. The counselor passed me his flashlight so I could draw the shadows. He said, "You've got a gift, Evie. Keep that safe." The words felt heavy, like they meant more than he realized. I didn't tell him I already knew how to keep things safe. I'd been doing that since the divorce, when every argument was about what to throw away and what to keep. Later, in the quiet of the cabin, I pressed the sketchbook to my chest. My bunk creaked when I turned over, the smell of lake water still in my hair. Outside, crickets sang like they were trying to fill the silence no one wanted to name. For once, I didn't feel like the kid who had to hold everything together. I was just Evie, 13, tired, drawing a world that made sense. And if I'd known how quickly that world could break, maybe I would have drawn something else instead. The morning started with sunlight crawling across my sleeping bag like slow water. The cabin smelled like bug spray and wet towels. Someone's alarm played a pop song too cheerful for how heavy my chest felt. My sketchbook wasn't where I left it. I checked under my pillow, then under the bunk, my heart thumping like a wrong note. Pages of ripped notebook paper fluttered out when I yanked my bag open, but not the sketchbook. Not the one that had every drawing from the first day. "Hey, Evie," said Lila from the top bunk, brushing her perfect camp braid. "You lose something?" Her tone made my stomach drop. Before I could answer, the cabin door swung open and the counselor, his counselor voice already on, called, "Breakfast in 5, ladies." His smile didn't reach his eyes when he looked at me. On the way to the mess hall, whispers chased me like mosquitoes. I caught my name, half laughs, the word jealous. When I stepped inside, my sketchbook was already on the table. Open, everyone was looking. The page showed the drawing I'd done last night, the counselor handing a small wrapped box to Lila. It was meant to be her birthday tomorrow. I'd drawn it because he'd said he was planning a surprise for me. For my birthday. Now the caption I doodled, "Some gifts aren't meant for everyone," looked cruel under the fluorescent lights. Lila crossed her arms. "Why would you draw something like this? Trying to make me look like a thief?" I didn't, my voice cracked. Every eye was a camera lens, the counselor frowned. "Evie, I think you misunderstood. The gift was for Lila all along. Maybe you just took it the wrong way." Something in his voice said, "Don't push this." The room felt smaller. The air buzzed. I wanted to disappear into the cracks between the wooden floorboards. I wasn't trying to. "It's okay," Lila interrupted, all fake forgiveness. She probably just wanted attention. Everyone laughed, softly, safely. Even he did. I stared at my sketchbook lying open on the table. My art looked like evidence now. Like I'd drawn my own guilt. I picked it up slowly, the paper warm from too many eyes. My fingers smudged the pencil lines until Lila's face disappeared into gray dust. And when the counselor turned away, still smiling at her, I knew something inside me had quietly snapped. That night, I stopped believing adults tell the truth. The rain hit the cabin roof like tiny fists that wouldn't stop. Inside, the air smelled like wet wood and shampoo. My pillow was damp from the leak above my bunk, but that wasn't what kept me awake. It was the laughter. Soft at first. Then louder. Lila's voice carried in the dark. "Guys, listen to this," she whispered, a flashlight beam slicing across the ceiling. Pages rustled, my pages. She read in a dramatic voice, "Dear Diary, today the counselor smiled at me. I think he likes me." The girls giggled, pillows muffling their laughter. "That's not real," I said, my throat tightening. "That's not from my sketchbook." "Oh, come on," Lila said, her voice syrupy sweet. "You drew yourself with hearts around his name. You must have wanted him to notice you." My skin burned. The flashlight flickered over my face, my cheeks red, my hands gripping the blanket like it could protect me. "I didn't write that," I managed, quieter this time, but no one cared about quiet. The next morning, whispers bloomed like weeds. Every table at breakfast turned when I walked in. Someone hummed a love song. Someone else whispered teacher's pet. I sat alone, pretending to draw, even though my pencil shook too much to touch paper. After cleanup, the counselor called me aside. His voice was low, practiced calm. "Evie, we need to talk about what happened last night." I stared at the floor. "I didn't write those things," I said. "I know," he said, but his tone said I don't want trouble. "Still, maybe you should apologize. It'll make everyone more comfortable." I blinked. "Apologize? For what?" "For the misunderstanding." He smiled like it was supposed to fix everything. But I could tell he just didn't want to deal with it, so I said it. "I'm sorry." It felt like swallowing glass. That night, I heard my name again, not whispered this time, but shouted in laughter. My face on a pillow someone had drawn hearts around. "Loves the counselor," they yelled. I smiled, just so no one would ask if I was okay, but inside, something went still. Like the moment a match burns out and leaves only smoke, they called me a liar. I started wondering what would happen if I actually became one. The hum of the dining hall had thinned to the clatter of dishes and the wet squeak of mops. The air smelled like bleach and burned marshmallows. My fingers were pruny from the rinse water, and I was almost done wiping the long wooden table when I heard it, my name. "She's a sweet kid," said the counselor, my counselor, his voice light, casual, like skipping stones across a pond. "Just a little." Dramatic. Laughter answered him. Another staff member, a woman I thought was kind, added, "Yeah, she stares like she's in some sad movie. Maybe she'll grow out of it?" The cloth in my hand froze mid-wipe. Soap bubbles clung to my wrist like tiny eyes watching me. Dramatic, not sensitive. Not creative. Just dramatic. They didn't see me behind the half-closed kitchen door. They didn't see the way my chest tightened, or how the sound of their laughter didn't stop when I needed it to. I wanted to step out and say something, anything, but the words wouldn't form. My throat felt like wet cement. I watched his shadow move on the wall, the same man who told me to keep my gift safe. The same one who'd smiled at my sketches like he meant it. Now his laughter bounced off metal pans, sharp as silver. When the hall emptied, I stayed behind to finish the job I'd already finished. I wiped the same table twice, then 3 times, as if I could erase what I'd heard. The silence afterward was heavier than the noise had been. That night, my sketchbook waited on my pillow. I flipped to a blank page and began to draw him, his grin, the squint of his eyes, the curve of his whistle cord. But it came out wrong. The smile cracked too wide. The eyes didn't shine, they sank. The shadows around his mouth looked like teeth. I tried again. Still wrong. Every line I fixed only made it worse, until I didn't recognize the face anymore. It was something else, hollow, stretched, alive in a way it shouldn't be. I tore the page out, crumpled it, and shoved it under my bed. But when I turned off the light, I could still see it. That wrong smile. That hollow grin. It was still smiling back. Silence used to feel like punishment. Now, it's armor. The dining hall hummed with laughter and silverware. Everyone leaned close to whisper about who liked who cheated at capture the flag. My name never came up anymore, which was worse. I'd become background noise, the space between conversations. When it was my turn to scrape plates into the trash, the other girls handed theirs to me without looking. One plate still had mashed potatoes clinging to the edge like something too stubborn to fall. I shook it, once, twice, the sound sharp in the air. No one noticed. Outside the window, the fire pit lay orange against the night. Flashlight beams flickered like lightning bugs as everyone posed for another group photo. The counselor, Marla, called out, "Closer together." Big smiles. Her voice was sugar, but her eyes slid past me. I stopped defending myself days ago. Explaining became begging. And begging never worked. When the flash went off, I saw my reflection in the window, half lit, half gone. For a second, I thought maybe that's all I was to them now, a ghost still doing chores. Back in the cabin, the air was thick with shampoo and bug spray. My bunk smelled like dust and pine. I opened my sketchbook, the one I swore I'd stopped using. But tonight, I didn't draw trees or faces. I drew words. The lies, little things I'd heard when people thought I wasn't listening. "She's so sensitive, I didn't mean to make her cry, she just wants attention." I drew each phrase as a shape, the words twisting into branches, mouths, hollow eyes. The pencil lines came faster, darker. Something about the movement felt alive, like each stroke breathed out everything I couldn't say. At first, it felt wrong, using their words like this. Then it felt right. I didn't notice Marla's flashlight being passed by the cabin window until it hit the page, freezing her drawn smile in place. The same one I'd seen at dinner. But here, it looked split down the middle. I closed the sketchbook quickly, heart hammering. For the first time, I wasn't scared of being caught. I was scared of what I'd made. I hid the book under my pillow. The camp went silent except for the faint creak of bunks and the whisper of crickets. My fingers still smelled like graphite and something metallic, like secrets too sharp to hold. I woke up before sunrise. The pillow felt lighter. The sketchbook was still there, but the page I drew last night was gone. Someone had taken it. By breakfast, the camp didn't sound the same. The laughter had edges now, sharp, nervous ones that ended too soon. I sat at the corner table, stirring soggy cereal, pretending not to notice the whispers threading between bites. Someone had pinned a drawing to the bulletin board. My drawing, at least, I thought it was, a hand reaching behind another's back, fingers clutching a folded note. No faces, no names. But people knew. They always know when it's about them. Across the room, two girls from my cabin hissed to each other. "That's totally about Jenna and her crush," one said. "Who even did that?" Jenna's face went red. The counselor, Marla, stepped in like she could smooth panic with her voice. "Okay, everyone, let's stay respectful. Camp's about kindness, remember?" Her words trembled a little. By lunch, another drawing showed up, tacked to the door of the craft shed. A group laughing while one girl cried in the background. The lines weren't messy like my old sketches, they were precise. Calm? That scared me most. People crowded around, trying to guess. "It's like camp art activism," one boy said, half joking. "Someone's making a point." I kept my eyes on my tray. I didn't laugh. Didn't blink. Just watched as Marla ripped the paper down, her knuckles pale. That night, I found the counselor, sitting by the fire pit alone. The same one who'd called me dramatic. The flames painted his face in orange and black, the same colors that haunted my sketchbook. He was holding one of the drawings. The one of him. It showed a man turning away while someone behind him fell. He looked around, like the trees themselves might whisper who did it. "Kids can be cruel," he said quietly, to no one. His voice had lost that fake sweet edge. "They twist things. Make monsters." I almost stepped forward. Almost told him it wasn't twisted, it was honest. It was what he made. But I stayed in the dark, letting the fire crackle where my words couldn't. When he finally looked up, his eyes swept the trees, slow and deliberate, like he felt me there. He asked who was behind it. I almost told him, but his eyes said he already knew. I woke up to the sound of whispering. Not the soft kind that fades when you listen, but the sharp kind that slices through sleep. When I opened my eyes, everyone was standing outside the cabin, staring at something on the wall. At first, I thought it was a prank. The morning light hit the wood panels just right, and the black lines looked like shadows. But when I stepped closer, I saw it wasn't shadows. It was my drawings. Every page I'd lost, redrawn across the wall like a confession I never gave. The bully smirk, the counselors turned back, the circles of girls laughing. All of it there, bigger than life, too real to look away from. Someone gasped, someone else whispered my name, the counselor pushed through the crowd, his voice cracking like a bad radio. Who did this? His eyes went over everyone, but landed on me last. Too long. Too heavy. My throat closed. I could still smell the charcoal, the bitter smoke that wasn't mine. I hadn't done this. I should have felt scared. Instead, I felt seen. Like the wall had finally spoken for me. He pointed at the mural. This is vandalism, he said. This is bullying. A laugh slipped from someone, quick, nervous, guilty. It spread like static. I didn't move. I didn't speak. I watched his hands tremble as he tried to cover one of the faces with a clipboard. The ink bled through his fingers. He rubbed harder, but it only smeared, darker now, uglier. The wall didn't want to forget. Behind him, the others kept staring at the drawings, the lies turned visible. Some looked ashamed. Some looked terrified. None of them looked at me. Inside, my heartbeat slowed, calm in a way it shouldn't have been. I thought of all the times I'd stayed quiet, hoping silence would protect me. But now it was protecting the truth instead. He turned toward me finally, his voice softer. Evie? Do you know who did this? I met his eyes. The same eyes that once looked past me, now afraid to look through me. My voice came out steady. Do you? For a second, no one breathed. The mural seemed to breathe instead, lines alive, ink pulsing like veins. For the first time, silence made them afraid, not me. By breakfast, the camp felt like a shaken snow globe, everything looked the same, but nothing was still. Whispers traveled faster than the wind. The mural was gone, scrubbed off the cabin wall overnight, but the stain lingered like smoke after a fire. The counselor's voice echoed from the lodge, calm but tight. We're focusing on moving forward. He said it 3 times, like saying it enough would make it true. I sat at the far end of the table, the wood sticky from spilled syrup. The girls who used to laugh the loudest now ate in silence. One pretended to tie her shoe just to avoid my eyes. My spoon clinked against the bowl like a clock ticking too loud. They thought the story was over. They didn't know I still had 1 page left. By noon, parents started arriving, the kind with sunglasses and impatient smiles. They hugged their kids too quickly, glancing at the counselor's office like it might explode. When my name was called over the speaker, I felt my stomach tighten. He waited inside, surrounded by boxes. His badge was gone, the space around his neck pale where it used to hang. You know this isn't how I wanted things to end, he said, voice softer than usual. I looked at his desk. Empty except for a cracked mug and a stack of apology letters he probably wouldn't send. I tried to help you, he said, almost convincing himself. I met his eyes. You tried to help yourself. Something flickered behind his face, guilt, or fear, or maybe both. I reached into my backpack and pulled out a single folded page. My hands didn't shake this time. This is for you, I said, sliding it across the desk. He hesitated before touching it. I walked out before he unfolded it. Outside, the camp was loud again, buses honking, kids dragging duffels through gravel, the sky too bright to look at. I didn't turn back, but I could picture it clearly, his hand trembling as he opened the drawing, me, smiling, holding a mirror. For the first time all week, I didn't feel invisible. That was the birthday gift I finally gave myself, the truth he couldn't look away from. The bus hummed beneath me like a secret trying not to be told. I pressed my forehead against the window, watching the camp shrink in the distance, cabins dissolving into trees, the lake catching the morning light like it was keeping something. Everyone around me talked too loud, laughing about inside jokes that already felt like ghosts. My notebook rested in my lap, warm from my hands. The paper edges were frayed, soft from being turned too many times. I thought I'd feel free when it was over. Instead, it felt like standing in the middle of an empty hallway after the bell rings, no one left to prove anything to. That night at home, the house felt smaller than I remembered. Mom was on her laptop, Dad's voice echoing from a phone speaker, telling me he was proud. The word landed like dust, light, harmless, and gone too soon. After dinner, I sat by my window with a blank page. The streetlight outside flickered, the same way campfire light used to, and I started writing. Dear Mom and Dad, I told them everything, the laughter that wasn't funny, the counselor's voice calling me dramatic, the drawings, the mural. I even wrote about the silence, how it stopped feeling like weakness and started feeling like armor. My handwriting looked different, sharper, older, like it had learned something my voice hadn't. I paused halfway through and stared at the words, wondering if they'd even understand. Mom would probably say, "You're too sensitive." Dad would tell me, "You did the right thing, honey," without asking what the right thing really cost. The truth was, they lied too, not with words, but with pretending everything was fine. Pretending they still listened to each other. Pretending I didn't notice. When the ink finally dried, I folded the letter carefully and slipped it into an envelope. My name sat on the corner in neat blue pen. But when I reached for a stamp, my hand stopped. It didn't feel like something that needed to go anywhere. It already belonged here, in the silence I'd earned. I tucked it into my drawer beside my sketchbook. The two looked like they understood each other, stories that no one needed to see to be real. I stopped waiting to be believed, I started believing myself. The cake sat in the center of the mess hall like it was waiting for someone else's name. Balloons sagged in the corners, the banner misspelled, "Happy Birthday Evie." They'd forgotten the second E. I didn't correct them. The counselor clapped his hands, smiling too wide. "Make a wish," he said, like the week hadn't been a slow-motion storm. The candles flickered, tiny, nervous flames. Everyone sang, but it sounded off-key, not because of their voices, but because no one really meant it. Chloe smirked at the end, whispering something to Mia that made both of them snort into their hands. I blew out the candles anyway. The smoke curled up, soft and gray, disappearing before I could think of what to wish for. There were gifts stacked on a table, neat, colorful, cheerful. None had my name on them. They were for the campers with birthdays next week. Mine had got delayed, according to the counselor. "Shipping mix-up," he said, like the truth was stuck in the mail somewhere. I nodded, pretending not to care. My smile was so practiced it almost looked real. When the others left for the lake, I stayed behind. The frosting smelled too sweet. I traced my finger across the tablecloth, smearing a bit of blue icing, and opened my sketchbook. A blank page. It stared back at me, patient. I started to draw, a lake, calm again, no ripples, no shouting. A girl walking away from it, her shadow long but unbroken. Halfway through, I heard footsteps. The counselor again. His voice tried to sound kind. "Hey, Evie. Sorry about the mix-up. We'll make it up to you, okay?" I nodded without looking up. He hesitated. "You've got real talent," he added softly. "Those drawings. They really made people think." The air between us felt strange, not angry, not forgiving, just heavy. I looked up for a second. He wasn't smiling anymore. Maybe he knew I saw through him. Maybe that was my real gift. When he left, I finished the last line, the girl's face, turned away, but peaceful. I signed it small at the bottom corner, Evie my name. Spelled right this time. I tore the page out, folded it once, and slipped it under the uneaten slice of cake. I never got the gift they promised. I made my own instead.